you love movies and movie discussions, you've come to the right place. Who am I, you ask? I am the Wiz, and I'm here today to review the 1986 adult animation film When the Wind Blows, featuring the voices of Peggy Ashcroft and John Mills, directed by Jimmy T. Murakami. You know, if there is a specific type of film that I think does get a pretty much a bad rap or doesn't get enough attention, it's adult animation. And the main reason why is because a lot of people who look at animation think kids stuff. Kids movies. And for the most part, that's true. Most of the animated films are made to be for the widest net possible, even though there are adults who are fans of animated films, specifically, I would say the Disney films, and some like the Pixar films as well, but they are good movies. They are really meant for kids. They just have enough in there where adults can actually enjoy them. I enjoy them myself. But there seems to be a lack of adult animated films are meant for an adult audience. The few that I can remember in the past few years, I would say is like Waltz with Bashir, Persepolis it'd be another one. Persepolis is such a good movie. I think there was a recent one that came out called Flea. I might be wrong on that one, actually. I might have gotten that wrong. If there is one thing that I think they should get more representation, not only just overall, but from the Criterion Collection. My God, why does Criterion Collection not have all these really good adult animated films? That would be the perfect place to put them. I guess maybe Arrow or even Kino Lorber probably should do something with that, because a lot of them are weird. It would really entice those people who collect those types of movies. If there is one thing from all the time that I've been watching films, it's that adult animated films really does not get the amount of attention it deserves. All right, well, let's get into it. Let's get into the review of When the Wind Blows, directed by Jimmy T. Murakami. And before that, let us get into the plot. This is a pretty simple movie. With the help of some government-issued pamphlets, an elderly British couple build a shelter and prepare for an impending nuclear attack, unaware of the fact that the information been given isn't exactly going to help them when the fallout comes. And that is basically it. That's the plot. Very simplistic movie. A movie that it only really has 2, maybe 3 characters in the movie. So with that was the plot. Let's get into my 3 points. And my first point is the mix of hand-drawn and stop-motion animation leaves an impression. The hand-drawn animation reminds me of an old cartoon show from like the 90s that I watched every once in a while on HBO called Babar. And what it is, it's got very simple color scheme. Look up Babar if you get a chance and you'll see what I'm saying. But the detail on the animation is very slight. It's not really a extravagantly detailed animated show. But it's got its charm and it's got its cutesy look to it. It was nice for the time. This is what the hand-drawn animation reminds me of, and I think it actually works in this movie because it is a very simple film. It is a film that is meant to not have a ton of detail to it. But what really struck me was the stop-motion animation. The characters in the film and some of the setting is hand-drawn, but a lot of the things that the characters interact with are stop-motion animation. There's actual like real cups. There looks like real dressers in the film, and at first it feels weird because I'm watching this going, that feels a little odd. Why did they actually animate it this way? But when the fallout happens is when I realized why they did it that way, and it actually works really well. The feeling that you have when you're watching the fallout section of the film and how dark and dirty and dilapidated everything is very powerful to watch in this movie. At first, I thought the mix was kind of off, but then as the film went on, I definitely appreciated it. The animation, I think, is very well done, especially the mix of it. And my second point tells a well-constructed, blunt anti-war theme. Yeah, this film is very much an anti-war movie. The film goes on to basically say, in war, no one wins. And that's basically the main anti-war theme of any movie, is that in war, nobody wins. Instead of this being about soldiers and being about people who get gored viscerally and dies and the trauma that happens, it's about this old, sweet couple who, naive as they are, think that their government has the best of the intentions and will defend them when they suddenly realize they're on their own. It really tells a powerful message that I think a lot of people, when they get very jingoistic and they get pro-war, need to really start to realize that, you know, in war, you're a target too. I think this movie has a very stark message, and it's very well told in this movie. And my third point, its message on the failure of the government and press to educate and inform is more potent. Yeah, this is the thing that I think most surprised me in this movie, and it's the fact that this film had a very clear message that the government and the press don't inform or educate the way they should, and therefore therefore puts us in grave danger in this type of situation. The film makes a point to show the main male character as a person who relies on the government and trusts the government and the press to tell us exactly what we need, because why wouldn't they do that? That's their job. They're supposed to, and they've treated him well. We should believe in them. And the reality is, especially nowadays, that the government and the press doesn't do that. All it does is does enough for you to rely on them and to give them their power. That's what they are now. And this film shows in a very dark sense when relying on the government to give you everything and relying on the press to educate you and inform you what the results will be if you don't double check, you don't make sure. It's a very sad tale because these are people that have lived charmed, good, decent lives, and the government and the press failed them. They did not give them enough time and did not give them enough information to actually be able to survive or to know what's going on, or even tell them the truth. Now, some people will look at this movie and go, well, what could they do? And I would say they could have done a lot more. They could have said, like, if you don't have this type of shelter, go here. I think the main message that is very clear in this movie that I thought was a much more powerful message is that the government and the press that are supposed to inform you and are supposed to give you the information you need to live your life is not there to inform you anymore. It's actually there to obfuscate you, and it's also there to basically get what they want out of you and nothing more. All right, here are the footnotes for When the Wind Blows. The film's message may not have the same resonance to people today. Yeah, this is regarding the third point, really. Right now, the press and the government are at an all-time low when it comes to public trust, and it's very easy to see why. If we go for the press, they're there to shock and to anger you, but not inform you as to what's in your best interest. And the government is not doing that either. The government is doing just enough for itself to function and to help the people who are in the government to flourish while screwing the little man and the people that it's actually supposed to serve. So a lot of you probably listening to this review going, yeah, Wiz, I know that. Why would I need to watch this film to figure that out? I think a lot of people nowadays that aren't on the internet as much as maybe I am and maybe you are, still have the thought that the government still has our best interests, that deep down, even though there are a few corrupt people here and in the press there's a few bad people there, that when the time comes, they will have our backs. And I think this movie will show that I don't think so. I wouldn't say that at all. Unfortunately, the other problem is, who are the people who are going to watch this type of movie? It's usually the ones that are more informed. It's really one of those situations where you would have to have somebody who is less informed or who does rely on the government much more to basically watch this movie, and they just seem like less and less type of people who would do that. Kind of a hard thing to really think about in this movie, where I think the right people who should watch this movie are exactly the people who would never give it a shot. Very frustrating, but that would be the footnote I have on this. Overall, I recommend When the Wind Blows. I think this is a very good movie. This is a movie that I would actually like to own. I like the animation, I like the cutesiness of it, and it really hits hard what happens towards the end of the film. I do like the way that it mixes the stop motion and the hand-drawn animation as well. I think both messages, the anti-war theme and the fact that you can't rely on the people who are supposed to inform you, I think it's a very potent message. I think the sub-message is much more potent. I also think the voice acting is pretty good in this movie. I think the way that the actors portray the characters is very cute, very lovable, and I thought it was very well done in that end. Overall, I do recommend When the Wind Blows. Check it out on Tubi if you have not seen it. And I would say if you haven't, give it a shot and be prepared. It is pretty disturbing. I will say one more thing, though, before I sign off on that. What I mean by disturbing, it's not graphic, but the way that the animation is to what's going on, there is a very stark juxtaposition that is very troubling to watch at times. So it is disturbing, but it's not like, oh my god, what am I watching? This is so disgusting. No, it's more like you know what's happening and you're seeing these poor people suffer, and that's why it's disturbing. So overall, I recommend When the Wind Blows. Great movie. Now, if you want my full review on this movie, you can go to my website at IamTheWiz.com. You'll have my full written review right on the site, along with a link to the video that has this review that you've just listened to. Thank you for listening to this review. If you want to know what we're reviewing in the next couple days, you can look on the screen right now to see what's coming up next. If you liked what you heard, go ahead and leave a like on this video. If you want to discuss your opinion on the film or the review itself, please leave a comment. And if you want to hear more
subscribe to the channel. Thank you again for listening. I will talk to you next time.